Now we're in the middle of the riding season. Well, not a little bit past the middle anyway. And this is a special favor for Vlad. This is his Trackday bike that we painted on previous videos, and he's had some little issues with loading the bike onto the trailer, which anybody that's done track days knows that can be a problem. It looks like he was a, well, Vlad, it looks like you're a butcher, to be honest. Anyway, we're going to do the refinish on this. It's a Trackday part. We're going to try to keep the price under $2,000. These stickers, luckily we didn't clear over them, or that would be a real problem right now. We're going to have to get the heat gun. We'll just peel them off. But you can see what's happened up here is because of the way this part is made. It's made with e-glass and gel coat. See, it's pulling up the gel coat. So we got to do, well, some kind of bondo or something in there. So step one on this part, before we do much else, we're going to get out some simple green. Before you do any body work, get the part as clean as possible. Now, one of my choices, certainly not the only choice, but one is simple green is a good choice. Any kind of degreasing agent. You want to get the whole part, let it soak for a minute or two, even before I pull the rest of those stickers off. It's hard to explain to people that don't paint a lot, and I've been painting over 50 years. So I've screwed up a lot of stuff. And I know why I screwed it up. And one of the biggest things is not to have the part clean as you can make it, and get as much of the old finish off as you can. In this case, for us, there's looking like there's going to be not a problem getting those decals off. But had we cleared over the decals, and then you go to refinish this, and that may be something Vlad wants to consider. I don't know. Since I see him on a regular basis, I'll ask him. You may not want to clear over the decals, and because if he's a butcher again, if you chew this up again, that's the problem. Now I just want to see if these are kind of cut and dry, but if they don't come off, we can just get a heat gun. And the thing is, what looks like it should be 5 or 10 minutes work, yeah, it can go very quickly and very nice, but all of a sudden you pull up a chunk of paint and you just made yourself an extra hour work. So, and sanding, and you use up a lot more sandpaper. This part's going to have to get chipped out and bondoed. Now, the problem is the Suzuki is under the clear. So what I'm going to try to do, he's going to get a replacement decal. What I'm going to try to do, maybe I'll sand it off, I don't know. I'll do the blue paint and have him come over and put the decals on, since he has his own style that he wants to keep this bike. It's only a track bike, doesn't ride it on the street. So, and by the way, if you saw the video from a day or two ago, all those Lambos flying by was pretty funny. He went chasing them with his Bomoda. I don't know if he caught him. And if I chased him with my RD, there's no way I would catch him. Now this one has, well, it's clear vinyl over it, but this is the whole point, is you've got to get all of that stuff off before you go to the next step. And I want to get some prep soil on here. Now what's happening, because the paint is chipped, it's picking up the edges of the paint as if it was taking the paint off, but the issue is it isn't taking the paint off. That's the problem. Not the real problem, or else we could just wipe the paint off. I don't want to use paint remover on this because it's going to add an unnecessary amount of time and energy and whatever. And the paint removers, that's another product's even getting more expensive as time goes by. So we're going to try to do this basically with sandpaper. Well, let's see. We're going to see if it's our lucky day. Now the part is pretty clean. I'm going to take it outside so I don't make a mess and try to sand some of this down. Now it's supposed to rain later today, so I thought I'd try to get an early start on this. Got some 60 grit paper on a Ryobi orbital sander. You just got to see how this is going to come off. You know, better get this off out of the way here. So here's lesson one. Always check that you took the old piece of sandpaper off. Actually, there's still some sandpaper on there. You don't think I'm drinking or anything? I thought I joined AAA, a AAA or AA. Seriously. That sandpaper now I can use by hand to do all little areas. But I need my coffee this morning, is what I need. Now, the whole trick with doing this, the thing that'll make it better, if you constantly move this, never just hold it there, or you wind up making a valley in a part. Constantly moving it. It's actually better on a day like today when the wind is blowing. We got maybe 20 minutes of time to get around this, get as much off as we can. You can't rush this. This is the part of it when people say, oh, I got a part, I just don't put a little bondo there. Bullshit. You got to take your time. This all has to be flat before we do anything with the bondo, because what we've done is we've actually pulled up with the stickers that are on it. They pulled the gel coat right off of the part, which I don't know what that says about the quality of the part. It doesn't matter. We're married to the part now. But there's always the point, and I asked Vlad already about this, if it wasn't worth just buying a new part, well, because we're going to put a lot of hours into this. So, but he seems willing to, to go along with this. So, the part of this, it's just time consuming to do this. As we get into the prep part of this, I thought I'd mention another thing, like removing the decals. Because there is clear, now it's not a lot, but it looks like there's a coat of clear on those decals. Maybe there isn't, it's just shiny decals. But I do want to get them off. The reason is if Vlad gets another exact set of decals, it won't even matter. These are already sticking up way above the paint, so the best way to do this that I know of is just get them off. And again, time consuming. Now also, because I'm trying to put all the little tips I've learned over the years on this, you don't want to leave the glue, any of the glue that holds these vinyl stickers on, because that glue is so powerful, it winds up in the paint and you wind up with all kind of issues later on. Now we've gone through a half a pack of sandpaper already, but here's the big thing. Whoop. Don't drop the part. This part right here, if I can show this up, I want to move it. I want to show this up close. This part up here has been cracked. Well, what we're going to try to do, it's not cracked all the way through. I'm going to try to put some CA along here, thin CA, wipe it on, and sand it down, hoping some of it is capillary, will get down in there, at least minimize the chance there's going to be a crack. Now, I could suggest to Vlad something I think would be a smart thing to do is, when you relay out the decals on this job, put a decal right on top of this. So minimize the chance that's going to crack, with both sides. Where this thing took a beating, it probably hit the ramp right here, and that's why both sides are cracked on each side. But having a sticker over the repair area, kind of a little jury-rigged way to ensure that it's not going to crack again. Or I'm not sure he's going to change what he does now. I know one choice you have. You could take this part of the fairing off to load the bike, and that's a pain in the ass too. So. But we've done it. Luciano and I have gouged up bikes. My FZR, putting them on and off trailers and trucks and everything. Common thing, that bottom piece, but in the worst of all worlds, in this one it's nice, because it's Trackday bodywork. It's got the oil catcher in the back and everything. To just keep it, it's a lot easier than repainting it. We're going to be into this a couple hours pretty soon. Now anybody that's a modeler, of course, knows what CA is. This is Brodak. CA thin. For this job we want thin because it's penetrating and capillary. Now this is no guarantee that this is gonna never crack again, because these parts, track work, body work, is paper thin to keep it light, and it's very prone to cracking. So, but this will hopefully stack the deck a little in our favor. And all you do is just let this sit on here, and we're going to sand it down. While it's wicking its way in, just rub it slowly. Don't stop the rag. Keep the paper towel moving. If you feel the heat, that means it's going off. Now in the back of this, there's a heat shield, so I'm wondering if, all we're going to try to do is make this as good as we can. Now, the nice thing about doing it with CA, as opposed to bondo, now when we may have to do, because this is really thick, we can go right in and just now, because these things are so deep, I'm sure we're going to have to put some bondo on there, but the idea is this will help. And most people that see this in real life the first time, they're amazed how good this works. And the CA is, well, basically the same price as the bondo would be. And we're going to have to use some bondo because what I see is the one side is pretty thick there. So, but we try to minimize the bondo and maximize the CA on any of these kind of repairs. And then even at that, there's still no guarantee it won't crack. There's a heat shield under there, but I really think Vlad should consider putting a sticker right on top of that. Well, actually, that didn't come out bad at all. I'm not unhappy with that at all. The only trouble is this side is a lot bigger and the chunks are falling off a lot more. I'm going to have to put probably twice the amount of time in this side, repeating all the steps. No point putting it on video, but all the steps I did to this side to get this side done, and then we'll be ready for some hand sanding and detailing and sanding around edges and everything. But just getting this big block rough sanding done, and I'll be happy today because it's really a day that looks like it's going to rain any minute now. I don't want to get too involved in this. I took the extra time and effort, and it really is a lot of effort. I'm sure Vlad appreciates. We did this repair, this whole repair, so no bondo at all. It's all CA. It was almost a full jar, but again, you got to make a decision on a job like this, just how much time and energy and everything you're willing to spend. Because buying a new part is always, if you put $1,000 worth of work into this part and a part is $200, you lose. And we're trying not to do that, of course. Now the next step is I'm going to get the other sander with the pointed area to get in all the detail areas, all the little corners and edges, and then a little rough sanding. And I saved some of the old sandpaper here just because I can put it right on my bare hand and go over it. But that's the idea, is to get it all scuffed up before we put the first coat of primer on. Now the Porter Cable Profile Sander is a really handy tool for all the corners and edges. The biggest thing of all to always think about is most of this stuff is just a lot of labor, a lot of hours, a lot of time, and probably a relatively small amount of maybe $20 worth of sandpaper and glue. But it's the time it takes to do it, and that final hand sanding will be the whole answer. Now it's always that you save one of the sandpapers, any of them that you've used. You'll always have the edges of the paper you can use to dress this all off by hand. And I'm amazed that we were able to do this Actually, every time I do one of these MMAs, without bondo. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't. There's no chance that this will crack, but we've minimized it. Really minimized it. Especially on this Trackday bodywork that's paper thin. This is probably half the thickness and weight of the bodywork that comes when you buy a sports bike. Now, once we're done with the sanding, the hand sanding, we'll wipe this all down with Prepsol again, and hopefully it won't be raining by then. But if you saw this in real life, this was an amazing transformation in probably 4 or 5 hours. Now the last step, the prep wall. Of course, the can is painted, but that is prep. And we'll be ready for some primer. I think we're going to be able to beat the rain here and get this primed today. My original goal was to hopefully get the primer dry, because then it would really be our advantage to let it dry overnight. I always do like to have it dry overnight. Get this cleaned up as much as I can. Wipe it down. Hope the rain pulls up. And on a bike that is going to obviously take a lot of abuse. But I think we've got that. That probably is as good as anybody can possibly make that and not use bondo. Now I found out on a job like this, 2 choices. You can do all the primer with the sealer, or in the case of this, if we're going to do more than 1 coat of primer or more than 2, you can do it with the filler primer. But that first coat, I want to have a sealer so that all the paint edges don't start showing through. And the trick with this is, as always with anything, put it on in thin coats. Don't try to just cover it in 1 coat. An ideal thing would be to do it in 3, 4, even 5 coats. Let each coat outgas just a little bit. This was a lot of work today. Glad, I hope you appreciate this. Stop chasing those Lambos and learn how to put your bike on the rack. And of course the wind is starting to kick up just at the point in time when I would like it not to kick up. Takes about 10 minutes for each coat to dry. But this primer it's thin, it goes on nice, and it's a sealer as well as a primer. Well, we end this day having beat the rain. I see the sun peeking out here, but it's looking like it's going to rain. They were saying it was going to rain by 2 o'clock. Well, it's 3 o'clock now and it didn't rain yet. We got to pack this up because we have to go get the baby from school. And this was an amazing transformation for anybody that, if you're going to restore these old bikes, this is one of the skills that's really handy and helpful to have. But right there, you're looking at a whole day's work, and probably half a box of sandpaper. Anyway, those sanding discs. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, picked up some good tips, and that you'll do well with your restoration. We'll pick this up. The next step is going to be in a couple of days or a day or so. It's going to dry in the garage. We're going to, any little imperfections, fill with the putty, sand them, block sand it all down, probably another coat of primer, and then shoot the blue. But we'll live to fight another day. Hey, and again, thanks for watching.